check engine light just came on giving an error code of P2004, and this is on a 2015 Hyundai Sonata. To fix it, we have to change the variable charge motion actuator. Here's the new one here, and we have to remove the old one first, and that's located on the top just right here. First thing we're going to do is remove the plastic piece. We're going to unscrew these plastic screws with a Phillips head, and to remove the grommet, we're going to use a trim removal tool. Now we can lift it up in the front here, and to get the back out, all we're going to do is just pull and wiggle it until it pops out. Next, we'll remove this piece here. It's held on by two hose clamps, one at the top, and then you have one underneath right here. So we'll go ahead and loosen up the bottom one here, and then after we get this loose, we'll go ahead and loosen up the top one. And then attached to the top one, you'll see this hose here. We got to remove this as well. So we'll get some needle nose pliers and remove this clamp back and remove this hose. I found it easier to remove the big hose from the bottom first. That way it gives you a little leverage to pop it off from the top. Set this to the side. Now we'll work on the battery. We use a 10mm socket to remove the terminals. And for the positive terminal, you just open it up, loosen it up, close the lid, and then remove the whole box from off of the terminal. Next, we're going to get a 12mm socket and remove the bolt here, so that way we can remove the battery. Alright, so this is the part that we need to get out. To give a little wiggle room, we're going to remove this bolt right here, little 8mm, and then you're going to come back on the side, and you're going to remove this bolt right here. That's a 12mm. After removing those two bolts, got a little more wiggle room in here. To give a little more wiggle room, we're going to unclip this here, unclip this here. But first we're going to remove this to make that area easier to access. We'll use our needle nose to remove the clamp, and now we just pull the hose off. Alright, so now that we got this off, to get this clip off, turn it over, and you can see right here on this clip, we're going to come underneath here and lift this up, and then once we lift this up, we'll be able to pull this off. So now you can see after we disconnected this stuff, it gives us a little more room to be able to get in here to get to the actuator. So now we're going to remove the silver clip here. To get this gray clip out, you have to pry and pull on this back part here. That's the clip that you're going to pull out. We have this side to the front, and you can tell the front is going to be bent out. That's what you're going to grab onto. And to grab onto that, all I used was a little paint can opener. Got a nice little hook on the end of it. Alright, so now we got that out. What we got to do is we got to pull that white piece out. And we can take these three bolts out, and then we can take this electrical clip out. So now we'll remove this bolt, and then this bolt down here. Now we'll remove these top bolts. Alright, so now we got the bolts taken off. This is loose. That little arm right there, and that little white piece right there. The actuator and the arm, we got to get those removed. This part took a little while trying to wiggle that white piece out. Here's the arm taken out. Alright, and so to replace the new arm, what you have to do is you have to push this piece out like this. Then there's a little metal clip. You got to take that clip out. Once you get that clip out, you'll be able to slide the arm off. Attach the arm to the new actuator. Don't forget to use the retaining clip to hold it on. Alright, so now we're going to put the arm back. First thing you want to do is you want to put this arm down in there, and then we want to get it back into the hole before we want to bolt this thing in. I'm going to put it back in this hole right there. And this is the trickiest part. Now we got that little arm tucked all the way in. Alright, so now we're going to put this clip back in over top of the white thing. We'll put the bent part on first, and then we'll snap the back on. And then one thing you could do to prevent dropping it is I'm going to get a little hook and then that way I can hook this on here so I don't drop it. Put the front on first, and then you're going to go ahead and push the back one to clip it on. Here I use my needle nose pliers to push the back in, and you can hear it clip into place. Now that we got the clip in, we got to get this in, but you can see the bolts don't line up. What we got to do is we got to go down here and push this arm and adjust it so we can get these bolts to line up. So now once you got these bolts tightened up, then we'll go ahead and replace our clip. Alright, so now that we got this in, let's go ahead and reconnect our wires right here. So we'll grab our tube, slide that on, and now we'll slide our clamp on using our needle nose pliers. Next, we're going to go ahead and clip the electrical wire into place. Now we're going to put our bolts back to secure everything in place. We'll start with our 12mm bolt in the back, and then we'll do our 8mm bolt in the front. Alright, next we're going to throw the battery back in. What we need to do is we need to push it back so then that way it gets clipped in, and then we put our clip on top of the battery, and then we get our 12mm to tighten this down. Put that on top. Once we get that on top, we'll open it up and we'll make sure this is all the way down. Tighten this up. Alright, so when you put this back, you can see right here they got the little rubber knobs. So right on top of these knobs. So you'll see these knobs here, here, then you got two here, one here and one here. Alright, so next we're going to put it in our hose. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put the bottom in first, and then we'll go ahead and connect the top. So come down here, slide this in. Go ahead and we're going to get this top in. Let's get this in. Alright, now that we got that in, we're going to go ahead and connect our hose here. So let's get that in. Now that we got our hose in, let's put our clamp into place. And now we'll get our 10mm and tighten these up. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and tighten up this bottom one right here. So now we're going to put on this next piece right here. I'm going to put into that hole. I'm going to squeeze those in, pushed in. Now we're going to put our 3 grommets and screws back into place, and we're done.